remember a time when I'd be in bed and I'd just turn over, grab my iPad, and watch YouTube from 6 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock, staying in bed until it was time to get ready to go to school. And I'd get up and go to school, and I'd just waste that whole morning. I wasn't willing to do any work. Whereas a few months earlier, I'd wake up at 6 o'clock, go straight outside, even in the middle of winter in the cold, and I'd put on my boots and I'd start doing soccer training from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Then I'd go to school, then I'd train at lunchtime at school. Then I'd come home from 3 to 5 o'clock, I'd train again. And then I'd go to soccer training afterwards. I'd be training, 6 hours a day. I was willing to do the hard work. And it was because I had been able to see a future version of myself that was a better soccer player, that was willing to do the work. Whereas when I'd woke up and gone straight on my iPad, I had nothing to work hard for. So I wasn't willing to do the hard work. And so there are 5 simple life hacks that I started to implement, that I even implement now, to start doing the hard work. Because no one else is going to do the hard work for you. The government's not going to do it. Your parents aren't going to do it. Your friends aren't going to do it for you. So you've got to take responsibility, take initiative to do the hard work. But how can you hack your brain to start doing it? The first thing I want you to do is write down what's the one thing you've been procrastinating on that you want to start doing. For me, it was making these videos. I'm being able to get up at 6 o'clock now and film these videos because I implemented these 5 things. But before we talk about the 5 tactics, write down the one thing that you've been procrastinating on that you want to start doing. So the first tactic is the 2-minute rule. This is where you basically set a timer for 2 minutes and you're just going to work on completing that task for 2 minutes. You don't have to do any more, but just commit to doing it for 2 minutes. Usually it's the resistance of starting that stops us from actually completing the task, not how scary it is or how hard it is. It's the starting that's the hard part. So I was procrastinating on getting my YouTube videos edited, and I've been procrastinating on it for months. And eventually I just decided I'm just going to do it. And it took me 5 minutes to actually go on a website, hire someone, and get them to edit my videos. And so I realized it took me months, probably 4 or 5 months, to do a 5-minute task. And so that's the reality of how I was living before and how most people are living is they're procrastinating on a task that probably takes them 5 minutes to do. So the 2-minute rule is set a time for 2 minutes. And you're just going to work on it for 2 minutes. Break the thing down into something smaller, more achievable. And once you start, it's going to be a lot easier than you realize. So just this 2-minute rule, it focuses on just getting started. The next tactic is called chunking. It's where you break bigger tasks down into smaller things. This comes from when you have like a phone number or a credit card. There's a big long number and they break it down into 3 smaller numbers or 4 smaller numbers. Like with the credit card, there's 4, phone number, there's 3. Because it's easier to remember 3 numbers than it is to remember the whole phone number at once. So what you need to do is figure out what's the big task that you want to complete and how can you break it down into smaller tasks. So for making these videos, I first have to come up with ideas. And then within coming up with ideas, I've got smaller tasks like opening the laptop, writing down some things that I've learned during the week, going on ChatGPT and asking it for ideas. So there's different smaller tasks within that one task that's within the bigger task of making a video. So try and figure out the task that you want to complete, procrastinating on. Can you split that task into smaller tasks? Even for making these videos, there's smaller tasks that is the most important and imperative task, and that's turning on the camera. Once I press record on the camera, everything flows. So I've just got a checklist that I've written on my computer and it says press record. And once I press the record button on the camera, I check that off and then I've gotten the ball rolling and I've gotten started filming. But if I just said make a video, I'm just going to make a video, it can be quite overwhelming trying to go through all the different steps to make a video. But if I just say press record, that's the small task that I'm completing. It's a lot more manageable to just press a button, and it's a bit of a mindset shift where you've broken the big task down into smaller tasks to complete. It's almost like building a Lego set. They don't just tell you this is what it looks like, go and create it. They break every step down into smaller steps. So eventually you build yourself up to creating the whole Lego set. So that's what you got to do for yourself. Break the bigger tasks down into smaller steps. The third hack is negative visualization. Thinking about and visualizing the consequences of not doing the hard work. I was at uni with a friend and we had a group assignment we had to do, and we had 1 day left to hand it in and we had pretty much finished it. But then my friend, he was thinking, what if this isn't good enough? Visualizing the consequences of our assignment, our project not being good enough. We're going to have to repeat the course. That's a pretty negative visualization. So what we did is we spent the whole night improving and making our assignment 10 times better, just because we thought of the negative consequences, that it wasn't good enough. We didn't put enough effort into it. So you've got to think about, what is the consequence of not doing the hard work, of not putting as much effort in as you know you could, of not getting started and procrastinating on that thing you want to complete. Think of the negative consequences of not doing it, because we're motivated first by fear and by pleasure. And so if you can push the fear to get you started and make you realize the consequences of not doing the thing, it'll get you moving. And then you know where you want to go anyway. So that's going to motivate you to keep going forward until you finally complete the task. The next hack is super similar, and it's just journaling the consequences. Visualizing is great, but what if you've written it down? You've actually taken the time to actually write down, what are the consequences of not doing this action? So I use this sometimes as well. It's like, if I don't do this, then I'm going to have to stay in the current situation I'm in. I'm going to have to keep turning up, do things I don't want to do. I'm not going to have the things that I want. I'm not going to be able to afford things. I'm not going to be able to have the time to spend with family and friends. You got to think of what are the consequences of not doing the thing you need to work hard on, not doing the hard work, not getting started. You often know the consequences, but not until you bring them out of your mind, where they're kind of just rumbling and mixing around, and bring them out into reality, and you write them down and you look at them till you realize there are some consequences of not doing anything, especially long term. Like if you continue to eat unhealthy, right now nothing's going to happen, but in 10, 20 years, it's going to affect you. And so once you write those negative consequences out onto paper, then you'll realize, I need to start doing something about this. And the last hack helps once you've gotten started, and that's to reward yourself after you've completed the tasks. So my dog had diabetes, and we had to give him injections every morning and night. The first few months of doing this, he absolutely hated it. We had to put a muzzle on him so he wouldn't bite us, and he would sit still, and he'd still run away. It'd take about an hour to actually do one needle. That would take, half a second to put in. And so we had to come up with a solution to stop him basically taking so long and being so scared to get these needles. So what we decided to do, we start putting some numbing cream where we put the needles, so he'd be more relaxed and he wouldn't feel it. Then what we started doing is I would give him ham after I'd given him the needle straight away. So then he associated the needle with the reward of ham. So he went from absolutely hating the needle, taking an hour to actually get it done, to every morning and every night him basically begging me for the needle. He would follow me around waiting for it because he wanted the reward of the ham. And so that's the same thing we got to do for ourselves. We may not like doing the tasks and the hard work right now, but how can we reward ourselves from doing it? So what I do is I give myself cranberries, something simple, or even when I'm at the gym and I do a hard set, I reward myself with water straight after I've done it. So you got to think of, where can I put in rewards for doing certain actions and completing tasks. Just train yourself like I train my dog to enjoy doing the hard work, because there's no point doing it if you're not going to reward yourself. Now, I just want you to visualize how amazing the future version of yourself would be if you'd consistently done the hard work for the next year. You put all your effort into doing the things you know you should be doing. There is a better version of yourself within you, and you need to bring that out within yourself. You use some of these tools and tactics to start doing the hard work, because there is that future version of yourself will be thankful and grateful that you've done the hard work now. So you need to start doing it. So think about, what are you procrastinating on? How can you break it into a 2-minute task, or break it into smaller tasks you complete? And then think about, what are the negative consequences of not doing the work? You won't be able to become that future version of yourself. So try and figure out, what are the consequences? And then once you've got the ball rolling, is doing those hard work tasks. Reward yourself. Don't just procrastinate on it, but enjoy creating that future version of yourself, because it's a fun process to create whoever you want to become. Now I'm on a mission to help educate people about their bodies and educate myself on my own body, so I can live and lead a healthy life. And so I'm taking the initiative to build my leadership skills, and all the lessons that I've learned about leadership. I've created a video which you can watch now, where I take you through the one skill you really need to learn that's super simple to actually become a leader. So you can go watch that video now. I'll see you in the next video.